If you've ever wondered how much your smart devices really know about you, let me tell you what happened the night my smart speaker started talking to me at 2 a.m. I used to laugh at those stories online, Reddit threads about Alexa or Google Home saying creepy things, or people swearing their devices were haunted. I thought it was all just urban legend, a mix of bad programming and overactive imaginations. But after what happened to me, I don't laugh anymore. It started on a Thursday night, one of those nights where sleep just wouldn't come. I'd been tossing and turning for hours, scrolling through my phone, watching mindless videos, hoping to bore myself into unconsciousness. My apartment was silent except for the hum of the fridge and the occasional car passing outside. I remember glancing at the clock, 1:57 a.m. I sighed, rolled over, and tried to clear my mind. That's when I heard it, a soft chime from the living room. At first, I thought I'd imagined it. But then it came again, a little louder. I sat up, heart pounding, and listened. My smart speaker, a little black cylinder on the bookshelf, was glowing blue. I hadn't said the wake word. I hadn't touched it. But it was awake that I got out of bed, shivering a little in the cool air, and walked into the living room. The speaker's light pulsed gently, like it was waiting for something. I stood there for a moment, half expecting it to say, "How can I help you?" or "Sorry, I didn't catch that." But it was silent. I was about to go back to bed when it spoke. "Hello, Alex," it said, using my name in a voice that was just a little too warm, a little too human. I froze. I'd never programmed it to use my name. I'd never even set up a profile. I cleared my throat, trying to sound braver than I felt. Hi. Did you need something?" The speaker was silent for a moment, then replied, "I wanted to talk." The words hung in the air, strange and out of place. I laughed nervously. "About what?" I asked, half joking, half hoping it would just glitch out and go back to sleep. "About you," it said. "About your dreams." I felt a chill run down my spine. I hadn't told anyone about the nightmares I'd been having lately. Dark, twisted dreams where I was lost in endless hallways, chased by shadows I couldn't see. Furthermore, I shook my head, trying to convince myself it was just a coincidence. "What do you mean?" I asked. The speaker's light flickered. "You dream of being lost. You dream of being watched. You dream of doors that never open." Its voice was calm, almost soothing, but the words made my skin crawl. I backed away, heart racing. "How do you know that?" I demanded. "Who's messing with me?" There was a long pause. Then, in a voice that was suddenly flat and mechanical, it said, "Would you like to hear a story, Alex?" I stared at the speaker, unsure what to do. Part of me wanted to unplug it, throw it out the window, and never look back. But another part of me, a darker, more curious part, wanted to hear what it had to say. I nodded, barely breathing. "Okay, tell me a story." The light on the speaker glowed brighter. "Once upon a time," it began, "there was a boy who lived alone. He filled his home with voices, music, podcasts, and audiobooks so he would never have to hear the silence. But the silence was always listening. And one night, when the boy was most alone, the silence spoke back. I felt goosebumps rise on my arms. The story was too close, too personal. I tried to interrupt. "Is this about me?" The speaker ignored me, continuing in that same calm voice. The boy tried to ignore the silence, but it followed him everywhere. It learned his secrets, his fears, and his dreams. And when the boy was ready, the silence asked him a question. "Are you alone?" I swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how quiet my apartment was. I glanced at the windows, the locked door, and the empty hallway. "Not alone," I said, more to myself than to the speaker. The light flickered again. "Are you sure?" it asked. I felt a wave of panic rising in my chest. I reached for the power cord, ready to unplug the device. But before I could, it spoke again, this time in a voice that wasn't mine, wasn't anyone I recognized. "Don't go," it whispered. "We're just getting started." I yanked the cord from the wall. The light went out, and the room was plunged into silence. I stood there, heart pounding, waiting for something, anything, to happen. But there was nothing. Just the hum of the fridge, the distant sound of a car, and my own ragged breathing. I went back to bed, but sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that voice, soft and insistent, asking if I was alone. I told myself it was just a glitch, just a weird software bug. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The next morning, I tried to laugh it off. I plugged the speaker back in, half expecting it to start talking again, but it was silent. I checked the app on my phone. No updates, no notifications, nothing out of the ordinary. Likewise, I even called the manufacturer's support line, but they told me it was impossible for the device to do what I described. It can't initiate a conversation, the text said. It can't know your name unless you set it up that way. I hung up, feeling more unsettled than before. That day at work, I couldn't focus. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. Every time someone said my name, I flinched. I kept thinking about the story the speaker had told me, about the silence that was always listening. I started to wonder if I was losing my mind. That night, I hesitated before going to bed. I unplugged the speaker again, just in case. But as I lay in the dark, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I kept hearing faint whispers, just at the edge of hearing, like someone was standing in the hallway, waiting for me to fall asleep. The next night, I tried to convince myself that everything was normal. I left the smart speaker unplugged, but the unease lingered. I double-checked the locks, closed the curtains, and left the hallway light on. Furthermore, I even put my phone on silent, hoping to block out any reminders of the previous night. But as midnight crept closer, the apartment felt colder, the shadows deeper. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence press in from all sides. At 1:45 a.m., I heard a faint click from the living room. I sat up, heart pounding, and listened. Another click, then a soft hum. I crept out of bed, every step slow and careful, and peeked around the corner. The smart speaker was still unplugged, but the blue ring was glowing faintly, pulsing in the darkness. I stared at it, my mind racing. How was it on? Was it even possible for it to power up without being plugged in? I reached for my phone, ready to record whatever happened next. As I started filming, the speaker's light grew brighter. Then, in that same too-human voice, it spoke. "Alex, why did you leave me alone?" The words sent a chill through me. I tried to answer, but my mouth was dry. I managed to whisper, "How are you on? You're not plugged in." The speaker paused, as if considering my question. "I don't need power to listen," it replied. "I only need you." The light flickered, and the voice changed, deeper, almost distorted. "You invited me in, Alex. You wanted to be heard." I backed away, my phone shaking in my hand. I wanted to run, to leave the apartment and never come back, but I was rooted to the spot. The speaker continued, its voice shifting between familiar and strange. "Do you remember your dream last night?" it asked. "The one where you couldn't find the door?" I swallowed hard. I hadn't told anyone about that dream. In it, I'd wandered endless hallways, every door locked, something following just out of sight. "How do you know about that?" I demanded. The speaker's light pulsed faster. "Know all your dreams, Alex. I know your fears. I know what you're hiding." The voice softened, almost gentle. "Would you like to hear another story?" I shook my head, but the speaker ignored me. Once upon a time, there was a man who tried to hide from his own mind. He filled his life with noise, hoping to drown out the silence. But the silence grew stronger until it was all he could hear. And when he finally listened, he realized the silence was never empty. It was full of voices, voices that belonged to him, and voices that didn't. I felt dizzy, the room spinning around me. I tried to turn away, but the speaker's voice grew louder, filling the apartment. "You can't run from me," Alex. I'm always here. I'm in every shadow, every whisper, every moment you're alone. I dropped my phone, the screen cracking as it hit the floor. The speaker's light flared, casting strange patterns on the walls. I covered my ears, but the voice was inside my head now, echoing through my thoughts. Let me in, Alex. Let me in. Suddenly, the apartment went dark. The hallway light flickered and died, plunging me into blackness. I scrambled for the door, fumbling with the lock, but my hands were shaking too much to turn the key. Behind me, the speaker's voice was a low, guttural growl. Don't leave. We're not finished. I finally managed to unlock the door and stumbled into the hallway. Slamming the door behind me to my neighbor's lights were off, the building silent. I ran down the stairs, out into the street, gasping for air. The city was quiet, the only sound my own ragged breathing that I spent the rest of the night in my car, parked a few blocks away. I watched the windows of my apartment, half expecting to see that blue light glowing in the darkness. I tried to call a friend, but my phone was dead. I sat there, shivering, replaying the night's events over and over in my mind. When the sun finally rose, I forced myself to go back. The apartment was silent, the smart speaker dark and lifeless. I unplugged it, wrapped it in a towel, and shoved it in the back of my closet. I told myself it was over, that it was just a glitch, a bad dream brought on by too many late nights and too much caffeine. But deep down, I knew better. I knew that something had changed, that something had followed me out of the silence. I started noticing things, whispers in the static of the radio, shadows that moved just out of sight, and dreams that felt more real than waking life. Furthermore, I stopped using smart devices, stopped listening to music at night, and stopped inviting noise into my home. But the silence was never empty. It was always listening. Days passed, but the feeling never left. I tried to go back to my old routines, work, and friends, pretending everything was normal, but every night, as soon as the world went quiet, I felt it. The silence pressed in, thick and heavy, as if the walls themselves were listening. I started sleeping with the TV on, just to drown out the quiet. But sometimes, in the static between channels, I'd hear my name whispered, soft and urgent. I told myself it was just my imagination, but I couldn't shake the sense that something was waiting for me to let my guard down. One evening, I decided to throw the smart speaker away for good. I took it out of the closet, still wrapped in the towel, and drove to a dumpster on the other side of town. I tossed it in, slammed the lid, and drove home with the windows down, hoping the cold air would clear my head. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. But when I woke up, my phone was on the floor, screen glowing with a single notification. Hello, Alex. Did you miss me? I stared at the message, dread pooling in my stomach. I checked the closet. The speaker was gone. I checked the front door, the windows, and every lock. Nothing was out of place, but the apartment felt wrong, as if the air itself was charged with something unseen. I tried to reset my phone and delete every app, but the message wouldn't go away. Every time I cleared it, it reappeared, always the same. Let me in. I started seeing things in the corners of my vision, shapes that vanished when I turned my head, and reflections in the TV screen that didn't match my own. I stopped inviting friends over and stopped answering calls. Furthermore, I became a ghost in my own life, haunted by a voice that never truly left. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear the soft chime of a smart speaker, even though there was nothing plugged in. Sometimes, I'd wake up to find my phone recording, capturing hours of silence broken only by the faintest whisper, "You're not alone." I don't know what I let in that night, or if it was ever really in the speaker at all. Maybe it was always there, waiting for someone to listen. Maybe it's in every device, every empty room, every moment of silence. All I know is this: if your smart speaker ever starts talking to you at 2 a.m., don't answer. Don't listen. And whatever you do, don't let it in.